Recording in progress.
You are the one to record.
Yeah, okay, I've done that now. Our expertise extends to ESG, and sustainability, where she has led a lot of initiatives to align environmental, social, and governance principles, ensuring responsible and sustainable growth. She is a QHS lead auditor that brings meticulous approach to quality and safety and environmental management systems, helping organizations to achieve and maintain high standards. She is the principal consultant and project director at Fresh Fountain Consulting. She has guided clients through comprehensive management systems, business analysis, processing, restructuring, and information security projects. She has strategic vision and hands-on leadership, has consistently developed and delivered measurable results, fostering continuous improvement and operational excellence across diverse sectors. And beyond just professional roles, she's committed to mentoring and community services. Many of us that are privileged to have her as our mentor and leader knows this very well. Actively contribute as a board member, trustee for Art Aglo Foundation, a volunteer with Faith Foundation and American Society of State Professionals, the Nigerian chapter. Our passion lies in empowering the next generation of professionals, providing guidance and support through mentoring, coaching, and counseling, and so many more. Permit me, I know I do not have the capacity. I know I don't have that strength, that power, but within Lilith too, that has been bestowed upon me. Permit me to welcome on the podium no other person but Mrs. Monica Umosu. You have the floor, ma. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Waliu. Thank you. Thank you to QMSA for inviting me. It's a privilege. I see this as an honor to talk to professionals like you. Okay, let me see. Wait, let me see. Confirm that you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma, we can. Yes, ma.
We can hear you very well.
All right. So they have given me an assignment. Cletus and Wali had given me an assignment to do this evening. And so we are going to do the assignment together, actually. So the topic before us is actually very simple, yet very complex. Why did I say that? Very simple, yet very complex, because from my experience, and I'm sure that the QMSA, sorry, pardon me, the QMSA auditors will also agree with me that sometimes you see a lot of non-conformances or non-conformities being flagged regarding either the quality policy or particularly on the area of the quality objectives. And it's one of the straightforward requirements of the standard, one of the requirements that you would have thought that is the most, is one of the simplest as ISO requirement to interpret. But then again, you see a lot of issues coming up back and forth between auditors and auditee. I'm privileged to do third-party audit for one or two certification bodies. And, sometimes you see that there's limited understanding of the requirements, of what exactly this requirement is all about. So it's a good thing that we are actually discussing this evening. So we're going to do this together, like I said, because I believe that a lot of us on this call, one way or the other, so that we have this quality policy in our organization, we have the quality objectives, or we have seen it somewhere, even if you don't have in your organization. Trust me, you have seen it somewhere in another organization. So we are all going to do this together. But before I continue, can I share my screen? Is it possible to share my screen right now? Am I a co-host? Okay, confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. So yes, so we'll be discussing the quality policy and of course the objectives and how we want to connect it to the overall organizational performance. Now, before I continue, let's quickly do something just to, break the ice. Wali, you will be the umpire for this conversation. If you know me, you know that I love my class to be very engaging. So in the chat box, we are going to do something very quickly for me. Now, all of us on this call, we are all from diverse backgrounds. We are all from diverse industry. But there is at least 5 common things, 5 common things that are peculiar to all of us on this call. 5 common things. So I want to know the fastest finger first. Before you start, this is the rule. You will list out the 5 things at once. You're not going to be listing them number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. No, you're going to list out the 5 things at once. What do you think that all of us on this call, we have in common? At least 5 things you think that we all have in common. Who is going first? Who is going first? And I want all the 5 things at once. I want all the 5 things at once. So let's think outside the box. Because one of the things we're going to be discussing is strategic direction of organization. So let's think outside the box. I'm not seeing your responses in the chat. I'm not seeing responses yet. I'm not seeing responses yet. 5 common things that you think that all of us on this call, we have in common. What do you think is peculiar to all of us? It can be anything, right? I don't want to give you clues. It can be anything. And when you are typing the 5 things, it has to be all together. Okay? Yeah, somebody said God. Okay, somebody said hand, nose, mouth. I no way. I'm not going to accept that. I say common things. Common things. 5 common things. We have life together. We are all breathing together. But I want you to put the 5 things together. Put the 5 things together. Yes, I agree. We all have life together, but I want you to put the 5 things together. Let it come together. Go in. Valu, I hope you are monitoring the winner. 5 common things that we all have in common. I'm waiting. 5 common things that are tangible, things that you can see. Yes, someone said we all have life. We are breathing. Thank God for his faithfulness and his mercy. We are alive today. What are the 5 common things? Somebody said we all have nose. No, I'm not accepting that. I want 5 common things. Going. Come on, make this platform engaging. Make it engaging. I'm still waiting. I have 2 more minutes. I'm still waiting. Life, health, okay? Knowledge, right? Sickness. No, we are all not sick. We all use internet, yes. Interest in quality, yes. Interest in career growth. Electronic gadgets. Someone that said electronic gadget. Be specific now. You are close. Be very specific. What electronic gadget do we all have in common? There's an electronic gadget we all have in common. You are close. What is it? What is that gadget that we all have in common? Somebody is thinking. Yes. Access to a device, internet, Zoom software, meeting ID. Oh my goodness. Android phone, yes, phones, because I said we all have it in common. Everybody has woken up phone. What else do you have in common? What else? 2 minutes? Or no, 1 more minute? What do we have in common? Access to a device, yes, internet access. Okay. Meeting link or ID, video clip. We all have the ability to think. Wow, that's deep. Yeah. Okay, what else? Life, health, safety, education, knowledge. Okay, should I accept this value? Should we accept this last one? Because that one is a good item. Yeah, we have mobile phone, yes. We have internet access, yes. Zoom app, audio, videos. Not all of us here have CPD now. It's not guaranteed that we all have CPD, right? Okay. Going. Who else is thinking? All right, who else is thinking? Yes, I think I agree with the person that says that we are all professionals. Yes, we all have mobile phones. Yes, I believe everybody here can speak English. We all have English language in common. We are all adults. Or do we have anyone here that is 16 years old? Raise your hand if you are less than 18. We are all adults. Yes, what else? We are all wearing clothes, I believe. I believe we are all wearing clothes. Yes, what else? Time, technology, meeting link. All right. Thank you so much for your participation. Okay. All right. So let's go straight into our conversation tonight. We are all auditors. I do not agree. Are we all auditors? We all have houses. Okay. We all sleep on beds in our houses, right? Except somebody wants to raise your hand and say you sleep on the floor. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for participating. All right. So let's dive right in.
Hello,
Excuse me.
ma.
Yes.
Hello, ma. Sorry, a few seconds.
Yes,
I
yes.
made you host. Can you please make me post to accept people in? I'm sure
Oh,
people will
okay.
be in the waiting
All
room
right.
now.
Okay. All right. Let me, yes, I see about 11 people waiting already. Okay. So let me make you a co-host. Okay. I need to click on your name, right? Okay. Make host.
All right,
Okay. I
thanks,
hope
ma.
it doesn't take the host right from me for presenting.
No, yeah, you still have your screen with you. Still have your
All
screen.
right. Okay. So we will quickly discuss the topic before us. We look at the overview of documentation structure. Then most importantly, we look at the organizational strategic direction, or what we call the corporate philosophy of organizations, because that is actually the starting point. Before we dive right back into the overview of what a typical quality policy should look like, the content, drafting, communicating the quality policy. And there's one particular thing, again, that the standard talked about, aside from communicating and understanding the policy. There's an element that the standard also talked about. We will emphasize that. We will also look at how we want to link or align the quality objectives with the quality policy statement, linking everything together with organizational performance. Then I just picked the balance scorecard. I particularly love the balance scorecard because for me, it's all encompassing. And then we quickly discuss over the balance scorecard. Right. Okay, so hopefully at the end of this very brief presentation, we hope to have improved or increased our understanding of what exactly the ISO standards, be it the quality management system, the ISO 9001, the environmental management system, the ISO 14001, the 45001, whatever ISO standard really you're looking at. There are usually basic requirements when it comes to drafting the quality policy statement. And I'm sure that majority of us on this call, we already know that. So we really need to probably educate ourselves, or if you like to say, remind ourselves again, what are the basic requirements for drafting a quality policy statement? And of course, we would also have a better understanding about the relationship between the quality policy and objectives, and then the concept of balance scorecard. I love it so much. Then how to integrate all of this together into having a holistic monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation of the overall organizational strategic direction. So at the end of this 30, 40 minutes that we're going to be talking together, hopefully this is what we are going to achieve. Now let's look at this. I'm sure we have all, most of us on this call, we've seen this pyramid before. It's not new to us. I got it from the Quality Guru website. I mean, it's not new to us. Majority of us have seen it. And this is a typical documentation structure, be it a management system, organizational documentation structure. Typically, you would always see the organizational structure in terms of documentation in this hierarchy. So typically, the quality policy statement, the quality policy document, and in extension, the quality policy statement is always the apex document that you will see in the hierarchy of the documentation of any organization that is well aligned with a minimum international global best practice. So you will see the quality policy, you will see the quality manual. Yes, I know that currently the ISO 9001-2015 did not specifically require that organizations should have a quality manual. But we see that majority of organizations, they are still maintaining the quality manual as a way of integrating all of their management system together or consolidating all their management system together into one pot. So you still see them maintaining a quality manual or an occupational health and safety manual, more like, an integration of all of their management system into one pot, like I said. And then, of course, you will see the procedures, the standard operating procedures, the frameworks. You will see all the contractual requirements, under the procedures. And of course, you see then the granular work instructions that you probably will see on the operation floors, on the shop floors, that tells you the step-by-step ways of carrying out an activity. Then, of course, you have the a special type of document, because record is actually a document, but record is a special type of document that provides evidence that work has been performed. It's an historic kind of document that you maintain in order for you to be able to provide evidence that you have been able to carry out what is in your quality policy, quality objective, what is in your procedures, whether it's your contractual agreement. So record is also classified as a special type of document. So now, looking at the hierarchy that we have just looked at, you will agree with me that without having a quality policy that is well aligned, then that means that the foundation from the onset is faulty. And we know that if the foundation is faulty, you cannot build on any faulty foundation. And I mean, for any organization to have a lasting structure, not just building management system for the sake of fulfillment of maybe is market driven or for competitor or because an investor wants you to implement a management system, but implementing a management system that is structured such that it is sustainable and allows the business to scale. So the businesses are not built on individuals, but businesses are, able to expand and scale beyond even the owners of the businesses. But however, without looking at the structure and then the foundation of the structure, you will agree with me that it's going to be very difficult for us to be able to, build a lasting organization. Now, having said that, then we'll now begin to look at what are the paths to establishing a quality policy. Again, I'm sure most of us have seen this. Now, before we dabble into quality policy and how to structure it, how to establish it, it is very important that first the organization itself would have an organizational policy regarding how they see quality. So what is quality policy statement? It's an intention. Is this a statement of intent from the usually topmost persons within an organization? So for you to develop any policy statement, whether it is quality policy, whether it is environmental policy, sustainability policy, it needs to emanate from the larger organizational policy, or what we call the corporate philosophy or organizational structure or culture, right? Sorry, organizational culture. It needs to emanate from that. So the question is, if organizations do not have any culture regarding quality, or they do not have any philosophy, or they are not even interested in quality, as it were, just drafting a quality policy statement will not cut it, because it's just going to be on paper and it's not going to be fed. You are not just doing ISO, or you're not just doing quality management system. You're not just doing quality, you are being quality. And so there are two foundations, as you can see. One foundation is organizational policy. And for you to have an organizational policy, then you need to have what we call your vision, your mission statement, your corporate values or your core values, your strategic directions. All of these integrated together will now give you an insight on how the quality policy statement should look like. Amazingly, I have gone to organizations. There's no mission statement. There's no vision statement. Vision statement is who we are and what we want to, become. While the mission statement is how we want to navigate through it, who we are, right? So without your vision statement that is saying this is how far we want to go, whether short-term or long-term vision, I mean, without the mission statement, I wonder how you're able to craft a quality policy statement, whether environmental management or safety management. It is going to be very difficult to align any policy statement without having a clear direction from the top management of the organization. So usually it would start with you having, in fact, most of the time when we want to draft any policy statement for any client, the first question we'll always ask is, what is your mission vision statement? If you don't have, we start from there. So most organizations will say, oh, we have not even bothered to create one. We have never really thought about it. Then that is the starting point. The starting point is drafting a compelling mission and vision statement, and then aligning your strategic direction to say, okay, in the short term, in the long term, what do you want? How do you want to position yourself? Because those elements are what eventually would make up your policy statement, regardless of what statement it is, whether quality statement, whether environmental, whether health and safety, it has to have a foundation somewhere. And if there's no foundation, trust me, it's not going to last. So for you to be able to have a solid quality objective, which I'm coming to, you must firstly have organizational policy. And the organizational policy necessarily does not mean that you have one framed stuff somewhere that is just saying organizational policy. It could be a document of philosophy that is all encompassing, that involves your mission, vision statement, your strategic direction, your core values, and some of the strategic initiatives you want to achieve, whether long-term or short-term. And some people call that document our strategic plan or our strategic direction. That's what they call that document, right? So when you have that, then it can now align with the quality policy that you are drafting. Then, of course, you can see the arrow. Then from the quality policy statement, you then begin to look at your quality objectives. I hope we are all on the same page. So the same thing, this thing is trying to also emphasize here, trying to integrate all of these together in order for us to have what we call the policy statement of an organization. It has to start from your corporate philosophy. You have to start with understanding who you are, where you want to be, your corporate values. You want to know in the next couple of years, in the next couple of months, whether short-term or long-term, how do we want to see ourselves? Where do we want to? I mean, that foresight will actually help you so that your policy statement will be meaningful to you. It will actually resonate very well with you, especially with the top management. And if all of us on this call, one way or the other, we are the ones driving these initiatives, then we also have some strategic role to play. I don't know how many of you, if you've noticed that whenever you come to any organization, one of the first things you will see, either at the reception area, when you enter most of some people even have it at their gates. As you're entering the gate, you'll see a very massive signpost there saying quality policy or environmental policy, whatever policy, safety policy. And especially at the reception area, when you go to any organization, the first thing probably that I want to greet you is the quality policy statement. Interestingly, most of the time, maybe because of what I do, this is my field, right? Most of the time when I see it, it catches my attention. I definitely would come closer, I will go through it. And most of the time, I will just laugh when I read through it. Why do I laugh most of the time? Because the contents or the way it is crafted and then the way it is written is not in alignment. It did not fulfill some certain requirements, And then, of course, it's usually endorsed, and it will see one big signature from the CEO, well endorsed, and it's showing that it's an authorized document. Meanwhile, the document that has been authorized is not fulfilling some certain requirements. So generally, the quality policy must be consistent with the overall organizational policy, like we have said, and it must be in alignment with the mission, the vision statement, before it can actually provide framework for setting other policy statements, before it now forms framework for setting your goals, your KPIs, and of course, your overall objectives. So if it is not 100%, then it is not quality. If it's not 100% in alignment, then we cannot claim that it is a quality policy statement. It has to be in alignment. It has to be in alignment. So this definition was lifted from the ISO 9000, which is the fundamental and vocabulary. That's one of the standard. I actually call it the dictionary of ISO. It supports most of the definitions if there is any form of confusion. Right, like I've already hinted this from what I've said so far. You will already know that, yes, there are different types of policies in any organization. From the conversation so far, you should already know that there are different types of policies. Like we already said, there's that corporate level policy that has the general overview or general guideline of the organization and how they want to position themselves. Then you have some more specific operational or mid-level policy statements, okay? And that can be like a guardian, like that can be like a specific policy addressing specific requirements. So it can be overall intent of an organization regarding quality. So at that level, you say it is quality policy statement. It can be overall intent of an organization regarding how they want to manage occupational health and safety. In that context, you say it is what safety and health and safety or EHSE or OHSE policy statement. Or it can be overall intent of an organization regarding how they want to manage their food safety management system. Then we call it food safety management system. So it can be an overall intent or commitment regarding how they want to handle information security management. Then we can say it is what information security security policy statements. Now, of course, aside from having the quality policy statements and all of that, those mid-level specific topic policies, you can also have what we call the granular or the functional policies at the operational level that is more detailed. And of course, it can be HIV policy, it can be drug and alcohol policy, it could be human resource policy, customer service policy, it can be accounting policy, it can be exit policy, and all of that. So those are more internalized, and those are more like granular, and usually would target specific audience, or it will target specific operations within the organization. So you will always have that general high-level corporate policy statement. And the corporate policy statement of organization most of the time would always be a statement of purpose, telling us the strategic direction, where we want to go. And like I said, it's a summary that, defines where the organization wants to be. Okay, so the responsibility for drafting the quality policy statement of any organization typically would fall within, I would have asked you this question, but because of time, it typically will fall within, definitely, I'm sure you know the answer, the executive committee, right? Or in practical real life, of course, you have the steering or the strategic committee, then you have the project committee, then you have the operational committee in the implementation process. But the steering committee really is their utmost responsibility to draft the policy statements. But practically speaking, you will see that it is the operational committee or the project committee that is drafting it. And they are drafting it on behalf of the top management of that organization. So it is the top management of the organization's responsibility, as stated in ISO standard 5.1, that it is the responsibility of the top management to draft the quality policy statements, and as stated in 5.2 as well. Top management. So anywhere you see top management shall, of course, is direct responsibility of the top management. So what's a policy statement? Or what is quality policy statement? We've been talking about policy. What is it really? Like I said, it's a statement of intent, and usually developed by the top management of the organization to express the overall direction of the organization as regards what quality. It usually will form a framework for establishing the objectives and includes a commitment to meet some certain requirements, in order to improve the system. It's also a statement that makes organization to stand out and aligns organization with their mission and vision statement and their value proposition. We are committed to this. We are committed to that. We are committed to this. We are committed to that. All of those statements of commitments, they must be in alignment with your overall value proposition as an organization. They cannot just document that we are committed to this, we are committed to that, and there's no any form of value proposition that you have in place to help to drive it. And that is the importance of your quality objectives. So, right, to say that, okay, we want to differentiate ourselves. We want to stand out. We want to ensure that our service delivery is top-notch by maintaining a customer satisfaction index nothing less than 80% annually. So that is the value proposition you are putting on the table, and you're telling customers you want to come back to our process, you want to come back to our products and services because we are proposing this level of value. We are putting it on the table for you to say, if you have complaints, we are going to resolve your complaint within a certain timeline, and we are sticking to it because our value proposition. But this value proposition, you are not able to drive it until the entire organization itself is quality driven. So because you have a quality policy statement does not in any way make your organization a quality-driven organization. It has to be in alignment with the entire organizational strategic direction. Now, let's come specifically to the ISO standard. So I just did this, I just copied this directly from the ISO standard and I pasted it here. In drafting and in making sure that your quality policy statement is in alignment, there are some certain elements that needs to be embedded in there. And the first thing is saying that it is the responsibility of the top leadership of the organization. They shall establish. But like I said, practically speaking, it is the operational or project department, project committee, pardon me, that would draft this policy statement. Then they would now, take it, validate it through the HODs, like typically what we do, validate it through the key stakeholders you have identified, key directors that you have identified. It must be validated. Then, of course, they would discuss it at the management meeting, adopt it before it is endorsed, and then before it now goes live, or before it is now scaled as a document that has authority. So it goes through that level of, and we quickly see that. So the first thing that the policy statement must contain is that it has to have your strategic direction. And that was why we started with you establishing mission, vision statement and having core values that speak to your corporate philosophy as an organization. Truth be told, there are several organizations you go to. The truth is they don't even have any documented strategic direction. They don't even have any strategic plan in place. They don't. And unfortunately, sometimes we as auditors, sometimes we miss out these very key elements in our auditing process. So there's no strategic direction, there's no strategic plan in place, and you have a quality policy statement. And then how did you come about your quality policy statement? So there must be a strategic direction. So in coining your policy statement, there must be that statement that says that in alignment with our corporate philosophy or our corporate strategic direction, we want to ensure that this, or we are committed to providing this level of services and all of that. Then it must contain a framework definitely for setting your quality objectives. There must be commitment to satisfy relevant stakeholders, including statutory regulatory authorities, including your customers, your employee, and I love the word relevant interested parties. Before now, the ISO standard will always use the word customers. But the word customers has expanded beyond just customers, and it has expanded towards relevant interested parties. Mark the word relevant, because it's not all interested parties that are actually relevant to your management system. So I love to use the word to meet or to satisfy or to exceed the requirement of relevant interested parties and applicable statutory regulatory requirements, because that is all encompassing. And of course, it must include a commitment to continual improvement of your management system. That's one of the fundamental principles, one of the 7 fundamental principles of the quality management system. Improvement is one of the principles. And we know that the largest room in this world wide world is that room called what? Improvement. improvement. You must constantly review your quality policy statement to make sure that it is an alignment with your current situation and your current status. So your quality policy document must include when you want to review it. Are you going to be reviewing it every 2 years or every year? And it must be reviewed and revised and updated so that it can be. The standard says that it needs to be reviewed for suitability and for adequacy. You need to review for suitability and for adequacy. And most importantly, the quality policy statement must be documented. It must be available as documented information. So when you see anywhere the standard says maintain as documented information, it means that you must have a procedure or a document. And when you see where the standard says retain as documented information, means that you must have records to provide evidence that you have performed those activities. So here the standard is saying that it must be maintained as documented information, meaning that it has to be documented and you need to keep it and maintain it. Then it needs to be communicated, understood, and applied within the organization. So it is possible to communicate the policy statements. It is not understood and it is not applied. That's the word, applied. Sometimes you go to most organizations, and I have seen 1 or 2 organizations where you ask people, do you know your quality policy? Oh, yes, yeah, that's it. Now it's hanging there. I saw someone that came and they hung it there, and and all of that. Has awareness been created? Okay, yes, awareness has been created. Then the next question is demonstrate understanding. And I love the fact that the standard says understood. That means that you need to demonstrate understanding. And it starts from the least person to the highest person within the organization. Now, the question is, how was it communicated? Because if it's not effectively communicated, I cannot even demonstrate understanding. So for me to be able to demonstrate understanding, it means that there must have been an effective communication, a two-way street where both the I've gotten the information that the sender is sending me as a receiver. Without understanding what the sender is sending, it is going to be absolutely difficult to demonstrate understanding. I had an experience one time. I think I've probably shared this joke before, where I went to audit, and then one elderly person within the operations or production floor, and we just randomly picked someone and say, can you just tell us? And it is possible that 10 people will say the policy statement of an organization, and they will all say it in 10 different ways. Right. And we asked this elderly man a bit in his mid-year to demonstrate his understanding. And then he went, we are committed to, that was the only thing that he just kept saying, we are committed to, basically saying that, it was crammed. You cannot cram this policy statement. It has to be understood. And each operations or each processes within the organization or within the management system must apply it. So when you are saying, I need to apply it, you need to apply regarding human resources, you need to apply regarding customer service, you need to apply regarding operations, regarding even security at the gates. So the question is, how do you apply it? Because 1 or 2 questions can come to say, this quality policy statement has been communicated to you. You've been able to demonstrate understanding, and how do you apply it to your work as sales and marketing, as customer service? Okay, so I'm applying it to my work by ensuring that, for instance, as customer service expert, I respond to customer inquiry within a certain timeline. I do this within a certain timeline. I ensure complaints are resolved within a certain timeline. I ensure that if I do these things and I apply them within my own roles and responsibilities, then I'm able to contribute to the overall quality policy statement and how it is achieved. So it is not just only drafting it. We have drafted it, we have documented it, we have communicated it. If it is effective, we need to demonstrate understanding. And demonstrating understanding does not mean you need to cram it. I mean, there are several policy statements I've seen that has up to like 3, 4, 5 paragraphs. That's a lot. I mean, I wouldn't expect an average adult to begin to cram it, but there are some certain elements of the policy statement that you must, understand if you need to demonstrate understanding. And this 5.1 actually captures, says top management shall demonstrate leadership and commitment with respect to the quality management system by taking ownership for the quality policy and quality objective, by establishing it and making it compatible to the context of the organization, making it compatible and making sure that, yes, it is communicated and, of course, it is demonstrated. So it is very, very important that we do that. Top management shall ensure, I think I've said all of these things. Now, the policy statement must be endorsed or must be authorized by a topmost person within the organization. However, most of the time, practically speaking, I know that most CEOs, most directors, before they validate or before they endorse it, they must make sure that this has also been validated. Okay, so how do you ensure that the policy statement is validated? Of course, you must have a responsible person. Normally, you will say, this is the project manager or management representative, if you like. The project manager will coordinate the operation or projects committee in drafting the policy statement, in defining the components. So before you draft the quality policy statement, you must go through the 5.2.1 and 5.2.2 and go through all of the core elements that is stated there. Make sure that it is all cleared, all those components and your policy statements. Draft all of the sections, validate the content by making sure that you share it. That's practically what we do. What we do really is, practically speaking, as a management system consultant, after drafting it with the granular committee, we share with the top management across the board. We identify key stakeholders and we share the policy statements across the board, and we want them to validate it and put their own inputs, make their own amendments. And so we give a timeline for all of those amendments to be made. It is important that the policy statement is validated by the stakeholders. Why? Because when finally it goes live, there will be buy-in. You now see a lot of directors questioning to say, at what point did we draft this policy? Because they were not part of it. And it's important that, you know, an average implementer of a system, you do what we call a RISI analysis, or using your RISI matrix. You do what we call RISI analysis. I'm sure most of us understand what RISI stands for: responsibility, accountability, communication, and information. So there are some stakeholders that they are accountable. I mean, for a particular process, you must involve them. There are some that you just need to inform or just need to carry along. Just, you know, there are some emails you send just for your information, right? But there are some key stakeholders that you know that, look, if you don't have them in your corner, you may not succeed in this implementation. And the quality policy statement is your starting point. Once you're able to get the buy-in at that level, they validate it, then you can confidently, you know, present it for endorsement by the top management. And that endorsement is very critical in order for it to go live. And of course, when it has gone live, like I said before, there must be a communication plan. Interestingly, the standard says that the policy needs to be communicated to interested parties, needs to be communicated to relevant interested parties. Let me ask, how best do you think that the quality statement, the quality policy statement should be communicated to relevant interested parties? What is the mode of communication that you think, what mode of communication do you think would be the best mode of communication? Because you need to have your communication plan. In fact, your communication plan should be embedded in your quality policy documents. You know, the purpose, you have introduction, the purpose, the scope of the policy statement, the responsibility, the responsible parties, the communication plan, of course, and all of that before you then draft your policy statement. Who do you think, or what method do you think is the best method to use? Having it on your website? Absolutely, Adari, beautiful. Yes, through your website. I've heard so many people say we communicate it, you know, through emails. Yes, it's good. The standard gives you the liberty to do whatever mode of communication that is good for you. You can decide to use email. But how many people do you want to send to through email? That's going to be very difficult, right? So the best way, I mean, the easiest thing to do is just to put it on your website and allow the different stakeholders to know that, yes, this is on your website. Yes, thank you so much. That is one of the best ways to communicate. Now, internally, disseminating the information and communicating it through meetings, intranets, You have through, displaying it in different strategic locations. You want to communicate it through town hall meetings, through your toolbox talks and everything. But then again, one of the most important things to do is to create awareness. Okay, that's why I said it's a recurring process. It's a continual improvement thing, especially when it has to do with a lifelong thing. It's not, ISO implementation it's a never-ending journey. You are not doing ISO, you are being ISO. You're not just implementing quality management system, you are being quality. So it is something that is ongoing. So communication is not just enough. It doesn't end there. It must back up communication with appropriate awareness and constant training and awareness. And then, of course, you must also evaluate the effectiveness of your awareness. Okay, I've communicated to someone and the person is not able to demonstrate understanding. The person is not even in alignment with the content of the policy statement. It definitely shows that there's a gap in our communication and awareness process. So you have to go back again. That's why I say it's a recurring process. You have to go back again and recheck your communication until we are able to say, yes, everyone is on the same page, and it is possible for everyone to be on the same page. And like I said, 10 different people can say the policy statement and they are saying 10 different things, but they are all saying the same thing. Or rather, they are using different sentences or different statements and they are all saying the same thing, meaning that they have applied it. They are not just demonstrating understanding by cramming it. When you apply it to your work, then it becomes real, it becomes more meaningful to you as a process owner. As a third-party auditor, I don't miss that question. Most of the time when I say, has it been communicated to you? Can you demonstrate understanding? I must always ask, how do you apply it to your work? As the production manager, as the sales and marketing operation, as business development manager, as whatever function you have been assigned to do. Each and every person within an organization needs to be engaged such that they know how they are able to apply the quality policy and how it applies to their own work. Otherwise, we are not all on the same page. Right. So, and wrapping up the quality policy statement, the key parameters that must be in the quality policy statement is your strategic direction. It must have an element of your product and service your product and service being quality and making sure that it is in alignment with your strategic direction. There must be elements of customer satisfaction, stakeholder satisfaction, continual improvement, and I said commitment to meeting relevant interested parties requirements, including statutory regulatory requirements. So in coining your policy statements, you can coin it anywhere, anyhow you like, but you must always state clearly that it must be your product and services that you want to deliver top-notch, that exceed or meet, and then it must be in alignment with some certain strategic direction in order to satisfy whatever stakeholders you have. The element of continual improvement must come into your statement. And of course, you are also committed to meeting or, requirements of some certain interested party that you have identified as relevant to you. And I think that summarizes the content of a typical quality policy statement. Okay, it's looking too quiet. Let me see. Okay, so let's see. Should I continue? Just say yes, 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 yes. If you want me to continue, just say yes, 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 yes. If I see 10 yeses, I will continue. So your yeses will let me know. How many yeses am I seeing? Yes, 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 yes. Somebody said yes, 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 yes. Okay, okay. Yes, 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 yes. I've seen plenty yeses, meaning that you are with me. Okay, so let's continue. Thank you. All right. So now let's look at our quality objectives. Now we have said that having a quality policy that you are hanging there does not necessarily mean that you're a quality organization, because the quality policy statement is beyond just hanging it on the wall. You have to integrate it into your overall corporate goals and objectives. And so if the quality policy statement itself is not, emanating from your corporate corporate philosophy as an organization or as a quality-driven organization, it's going to be difficult to infuse it into, your organizational goals. And so the standard says that the quality policy and the quality objective must be a framework, must serve as a framework in fulfilling your quality policy statements. So in other words, all of those commitments you've made, we are committed to satisfying customers. We are committed to continual improvement. We are committed to exceeding stakeholders' requirements. We are committed to strategic direction. We are committed to providing high quality. All of those commitments you've stated, you need to then turn them into realistic goals that will drive your organization. You need to turn them into realistic goals. And that is where your quality objectives come into play. And your quality objective is very, very fundamental for you in order for you to be able to build a system that is very measurable. So the quality policy statement is a declaration that you are committed to meeting all of the statements that you have made in your quality policy documents. Of course, it is established at both corporate and then relevant levels within the organization. And so definitely it has to come from the top, then cascading down to the functional and then to the operational levels within the organization. It must be measurable. Definitely, it has to be measurable, and it needs to be established. Well, this is me saying that it is good. It is good that it is established at the beginning of your calendar year. And I'm being very intentional when I say your calendar year, because your calendar year may not necessarily be January, a month of January. So it needs to be in alignment with your strategic direction that you're drafting at your organization's calendar year so that it can drive your focus for that year. We have gone to audit before when I sat in front of an MD of a company and the quality policy statement is hanging behind him, well framed, signed by him. And I'm asking him, can he demonstrate the understanding of the quality policy statement? And okay, so do you even have the quality policy statement? Okay, yes. Oh, that document. Yes, I think I signed it. It's behind him. And he didn't even know that it was behind him. He just said something like, yes, there was a document they gave to me to sign. There was a complete disconnect. When I asked him, what does the document say? Do you know what it says? Has it been cascaded? Has it been communicated? Who is responsible for doing this on behalf of the top management? Because the standard actually permits the top management to assign someone to do it on their behalf, but the overall accountability definitely still sits with the top management, right? But then again, you hear things like, I am not sure. So the quality policy statement is behind you. And they will say, I am not sure. Or it is drafted and the last time they ever had reviewed it was 5 years ago. And you see a quality policy statement still dated 2017, 2018. And then, of course, you will see a new goal or a new focus for 2024. So you see there's a disconnect, complete disconnect. So your corporate objectives must be in alignment with your strategic direction. All right, sorry, it's not director I wanted to put there, that's the typo. It should be business strategic direction. All right, and of course, you need to cascade it to your divisional and operational levels, core processes, services, and products. So you have the corporate, then you have the divisional operational, then you have the functional objectives. Now, the functional objective is now what the departments or the divisions will then cascade to their various units. And it is the result of the various units that will determine the effectiveness of the system. Now, if you go to any organization, for instance, if you go to, let's use MTN, for instance. If you go to MTN, you cannot see a department called MTN. I mean, there's no department called MTN. So if you meet the CEO of MTN and you're asking the CEO to tell you the position or the performance of the organization, as it were, he's going to definitely typically receive inputs from the various processes that make up the system called MTN. So the ISO standard sees MTN as a system, but the same ISO standard says that the effectiveness and the efficiency of the company called MTN can only be determined through the effectiveness and the efficiencies of the processes that make up MTN. Sorry, I'm using a lot of ISO jargons this afternoon, but then again, it's just only goes to demonstrate that if these objectives are not well cascaded down the ladder, it just means that it's going to be difficult for the entire organization to be able to demonstrate effectiveness. So, and that's why I love ISO implementation. So if you have 10 departments and 8 departments are doing excellently well, and then you have 2 departments that are just not following the requirements and not doing well, of course, you know your system will not be pronounced certified. Why will your system not be pronounced certified? Because ISO requirements is a process-based approach. It means that all the processes that make up the system must be in alignment, must be integrated to the strategic direction for us to achieve results. Just like you have a 4-legged table, and the 4-legged table is standing, you're looking strong, it's standing. You remove one leg from the table, from afar, it looks as if the table is still standing right. But the truth is, with a little pressure on that table, it's going to fall. It's going to just, fall like a pack of cards because it is not standing on a very solid foundation. Same thing too. So when you go to any organization, you're not going to see the result of any organization, except you collate the result of the processes that make up the organization. So the functional objectives would definitely be the one that would give the results to the overall corporate objective. So whatever result we push up, it's actually what the corporate objectives is going to look like. So in defining our corporate objectives and cascading it down, we must make sure that it is cascaded down in such a way that it is consistent with our policy, it is measurable, it takes into account applicable requirements that are relevant to us, it is looking at how you're monitoring it, it is looking at how you've communicated it effectively, and of course, it is periodically updated. The major area that I have issues with as a management system consultant is the monitoring and tracking. And I keep asking, what's the need for establishing an objective? It's not going to be monitored and you're not going to track it. So the objective is monitored at the end of the year. And there's no any system in place or structured methodology that is used to monitor. However, the standard makes it very clear that it needs to be monitored. Breaking this down, it says it needs to be measurable, number one. It needs to be monitored. It needs to be communicated. It needs to take account, okay, I'm still basically the same thing and all of that. So it needs to be relevant to your product and services, and it must also monitor the perception of the customer as to whether you have been able to satisfy the customer or not. That's clause 9.1.2 of the ISO standard, looking at customer satisfaction under clause 9, performance evaluation. So of course, we are all very familiar with this. The objectives must be specific, measurable, attainable or realistic, time-bound, and of course, it must be trackable, it must be monitored. If it is not monitored, what cannot be monitored or measured, you can't improve on it. I wonder how you are able to initiate improvement or continual improvement if you're not tracking or monitoring. All right, if you're not tracking or monitoring, it's going to be absolutely difficult for us. Let me just quickly ask, and not just assumed. On this call, how many of us have drafted a quality policy statement before? If you have drafted one, just put in the chat QP, just put QP. No liar here. Liars will go to fire. And I'm sure we are all professionals here. You've drafted a quality policy statement before. Truth be told, just put QP. You've drafted a quality policy statement before. See, Thicklet is putting QP. Of course, you've drafted one before. Okay, I see. Is that all the QPs I'm having? No, this is not enough. QP. Yes, let me see how many QPs. You really drafted one before in alignment with the requirement of ISO standard. You drafted a policy, or it can even be you are part of a committee that drafted it. Can I see QP on the charts? Let me see how many QPs I have. Walu, how many QPs do we have? We have less than 5%. No, that's not good enough. We are almost like a 40 on this call, if not more. So only how many? I'm seeing just about 5, 6. Okay.
Yeah,
So you
10,
have an
11.
assignment. You have 11. Okay.
Yes.
So that's about 3%, right? 30%.
30,
So
around
yes,
30, 20%.
yes, around 30%. So I have an assignment for all of us that have not drafted one before. As you are leaving this call, this is a call to action for me. Draft one policy statement for your organization. Draft it. Even if they don't want to display it at the end of the day, make some effort to draft a quality policy statement. Okay, and just present it to your either your line manager or your director, if you have that level of relationship with them. That's a call to action. After this conversation, I mean, that's one of the simplest thing as either it is health and safety, because the same principle that applies anyway. Either it is occupational health and safety, or the quality policy statement, or environmental policy. Just choose any one of that and make sure that you draft one. Just attempt to draft one. Look at all of the requirements as we have just described, and try to, it must not be a perfect document. Just attempt to draft one. Because really, you are wrong if you're on this call and you don't necessarily have to have a management system or a certified ISO management system for you to have one, right? Okay, so you can just attempt to do one, and it would really, yes, attempt to do one, and it will really really help us to to drive this home. All right. So we said that, yes, it must be specific, measurable, achievable, responsible, and it must have a responsible party monitoring it, time bound, and then of course it must be evaluated. Most importantly, it must be monitored and periodically reviewed. It must be monitored and periodically reviewed. So this is a typical quality, or you can call it integrated management system monitoring table. Of course, it's all the some of the columns, all the columns are not completed. This is just me trying to compress typically what a tracker or a monitoring tracker typically should look like. Some have a system in place. We have a lot of clients that have systems in place that they use to track it, such that they just input the parameters and the system rolls it out and it does the analysis for them. That's a very fantastic system. However, if you don't have such system in place, you can use an Excel spreadsheet to do this tracking for your organization. And then I want to believe that everyone on this call, you have something that you are using to track your objectives. Okay, so the objectives firstly must be in alignment with your policy statements, and then you now take the objectives you want to then know the target or your KPIs. What resources is required, who is responsible, when. So these are the parameters of ISO standard. ISO standard says we need to define when, who, how did the standard say? Standard says we need to define what needs to be monitored, what needs to be monitored, the method to use to monitor it, when it will be monitored, when the results will be achieved. That is what the standard says. So all of these are all elements from the ISO standard. What needs to be monitored, how it needs to be monitored, or what resources is required, who is responsible, when it should be monitored, the result to be achieved. And then of course, some organizations have some more couple of columns where they have stated what documents will be needed, the next revision or the next review, and then the next the action to be taken when the objective is not achieved, and all of that. So this is just a way of me trying to just put a pictorial representation of typically what the ISO standard is saying when it comes about monitoring and evaluation of your policy statement. So this is a typical example of a policy statement: increase in personnel competency, reduction in absenteeism, okay, increase in employee training, increase in customer satisfaction by 5% from the previous year. So we have established customer satisfaction as 75% for 2023, and we want to go 5% above that in 2024, on or before Q4 2024. So we want to increase customer satisfaction index by 5% on or before Q4 2024. So you need to have initiatives on how that would be driven, right? And this is just me trying to give examples of what can constitute objectives. So now let's look at how all of these tie together. There's this circle, and I'm sure we all know it, that is developed by a man called Edward Deming. We all know that Edward Deming is one of the quality gurus of our time. It was actually developed by a man called Walter Skewett, but don't let me bore you with the quality circle and all of the history. The PDCA circle, I'm sure we all know it. It was developed by a man called Walter Skewett, but it was popularized by Edward W.E. Deming. Edward Deming popularized it, and I'm sure we all know about the PDCA, the Plan, Do, Check, and Act circle. In fact, it is used everywhere, even project managers all over the world. That is the same concept that we use. Now, the quality policy and the quality objectives, they are all embedded under the plan. And planning basically means what to do and how it should be done and the expected results. So when the standard is talking about plan and following the same clause representation, there are some clauses of the ISO standard that fall within the plan matrix. And the quality policy statement and the quality objectives. The quality policy statement is in clause 5 of the quality management system, while the quality objectives is in clause 6. So that is specifically 6.2.1 and 6.2.2. Then you have the quality policy is embedded into 5.2.1 and 5.2.2. Now, these are under the plan. So you have done all what you need to do. Clauses 4, 5, 6, 7, they are really under the plan, right? Then you have the operation, which is the core clause of the ISO standard that talks about what organization actually is doing. That is the heart of the business. Talking about the operation of the organization, the services and product delivery. I call it the services and product delivery clause. That's clause 8, which is the do. Now you now come to clause 9, which is the check, and that is where my interest lies for this conversation. Clause 9 is saying check and assess whether we have met our expectation. So you have done all the plannings, you have put in place all of those parameters that you want to use to run your management system effectively, right? Then of course you have implemented and then you have been able to do your service delivery under clause 8. Then the next question now is, did things happen according to plan? Did we perform according to expected? Or did we achieve the intended result? Let me use ISO terminology. Did we achieve the intended results? Now, if we achieved intended results, fantastic, right? Then you go to improvement. And that's why we have that clause, improvement. And it has there the element of continual improvements. Things went according to plan. Fantastic. Go ahead. Just ensure continual improvement of that process. However, if things did not go according to plan, then that's where you now have what the other clause 10, non-conformity and corrective action in order to identify root causes to prevent a recurrence. Now, clause 9, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the major clauses of the ISO standard that actually help you to kind of monitor your health status as an organization. That helps you to know what your weaknesses, that helps you to know the extent of your strength. No wonder we have the internal audit as part of clause 9, because internal audit is one of the key monitoring tools. Now, narrowing it down to the quality policy and the quality objectives, specifically, clause 9 is saying that you cannot be able, it's not possible to check the health status of an organization outside the objectives that you have set for yourself. So basically, the purpose of the monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation is to gain insight into the overall corporate achievement, or will I say overall corporate results that the organization has been able to achieve within a particular period of time. And that involves measuring the result of the objective that you have set for yourself. That will involve measuring the parameters, all those performance indicators. We want to achieve 5% of this, want to achieve, you need to then begin to analyze and monitor, and then do your evaluation, and then do your analysis to then recommend to the management to say, based on the result we set in January, this is where we are right now. And we are not able to achieve this because of this, because of that. This is going to happen in clause 9, which is your monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. By the way, what's different between analysis and evaluation? I love to ask this question anytime I have the opportunity. We are carrying out analysis and we are carrying out evaluation. What is the difference? Anyone can put it on the chart. Sorry, please, what page are we? Okay, the slide I'm showing. This is the slide I've been speaking over: monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. Please confirm. Can somebody just confirm that you can still see my slide? I'm going to be wrapping up right now.
Yes, ma, you are right on track. You are right on track.
Okay. So please, you might need to check your network, the person that is not seeing my slide. What's different between analysis and evaluation? My time is fast spent. Analysis and evaluation. What's the difference? Yes, yeah, thank you. You can see the slide right now. In summary, analysis helps you to understand the components and relationship, while evaluation helps you make judgments about the value, quality, or effectiveness of something. Ekanem, thank you. But you have gone above my pay grade. Can you break it down? Can you break it down more? Yes, thank you. That was very insightful. Very good contribution. Yes, yes. Analysis. Okay, we are carrying out analysis. We have carried out evaluation. Okay. So all of us on this call, after this presentation, we have given you forms, right? Ms. Monica also had given you form to say, okay, evaluate this training. Okay, I want to know the extent of your satisfaction. So I've given you all of the forms, fill up the forms, rates. So there are about 10 questions in the forms, and there are parameters to be rated, right? So I've given you the forms. So when you bring the forms, analysis involves data collection. Absolutely. Thank you. So when I'm giving you the forms to fill, I need to collate back the forms, then sit down and do what we call data analysis. How many of you said I am within 1 to 5? How many of you said I'm above 5? How many of you saying I'm within 4? How many of you saying that I'm within 3 and all of that? So, and when I finish collecting this data, and then I need to now do what we call an evaluation. Evaluation is now knowing where I am. And I cannot do evaluation, an effective evaluation, if I've not set any result for myself that I want to achieve. I don't know whether it's making sense to you. So I want to evaluate my results. After all the analysis I have done, for me to evaluate the effectiveness of the what information I've collected and know my areas of weaknesses and my areas of strength, I need to have established some level of objectives. I need to know what results I'm expecting. So the evaluation will help me to know where I am, whether I have scored over and above, because from all of these people on the call, I want at least 80% to have rated me above 5. So I'm asking myself, how many people actually rated me above 5? If I am not able to get that result, that means that my recommendation would then be that I need to put in place some initiatives, or I need to put in place some actions, or the ISO standard calls it, I need to put in place some measures in order for me to be able to come up to the extent, to the level I want to be. So most of the time you can analyze all the data. Then so you need to interpret your data. So I call evaluation more like interpreting your data to then know where you are. Yes, we are up, we are down, we are middle, or we are where. And you cannot do that until you have established some form of objectives for yourself, or some form of KPIs for yourself, or goals to say, oh, I want to achieve minimum of 80%. So that's different between analysis and evaluation. And there must always be a performance indicator that you want to use to monitor yourself. You know, you're evaluating it against the objectives that you have preset. You have preset it before this clause 9. Do you see that? Otherwise, you are not able to integrate all of this together. Okay, so let me start wrapping up right now. So the following parameters are common to any form of monitoring and measurements. Number 1, the extent to which your quality objective, particularly your quality policy, and particularly your quality objectives have been met. That's what I just finished explaining. The critical processes and functions that you want to really evaluate or measure. Then, of course, the applicable statutory and regulatory requirements can be customer requirements, can be requirements of the investors, it can be requirements of the owners of the business, it can be your internal requirements you've established for yourself. You want to do that. Then the standard now took us back again to those monitoring parameters that we saw in 6.2.1. Did you see that? To say what needs to be monitored, we need to define it in clause 9. The method we want to use to monitor it, when it should be monitored, whether quarterly, whether monthly, whether we want to do customer satisfaction monitoring twice a year or what, and the result from your monitoring and analysis, which should be what analyzed and what evaluated, and for you to give recommendation to your top management. It is your recommendation from the top management that will form the basis for decision making. So in other words, if you don't do thorough analysis and evaluation, you can't even have outputs to your, because your output becomes the input to the decision-making process of your management. In order for them to say, oh, this is where we are really, then they are able to take, decisions based on that analysis of your, not just analysis, that evaluation of your data that you have analyzed. So analysis is one thing, and I see a lot of people do a lot of analysis. There are no recommendation. No, there's no evidence to show that management has used the output of that analysis as part of their decision-making process. There's nothing like that to prove that, something like that is happening. And I think I will end with this balanced scorecard. So I typically love to use balanced scorecard because for me, it is all encompassing. So for you to be able to do a good performance monitoring, I'm sure a lot of organizations are already using this. I have a lot of organizations that use this in a very large scale. So there are two components, or there are two aspects that you will always see in any balanced scorecard. You definitely, I'm sure most of you already know, you always have the perspectives and then you always have the components. Right? So the perspective really is the financial consideration, the customer consideration, the internal capability and internal processes you have. Then, of course, you also want to see, some people call it organizational capability, but most commonly you will see learning and growth of the organization. These are the perspective, because the truth is there's no objective you want to see in any organization that will not involve the financials, the customer perspective. It will involve the internal structure or internal processes, how they want to improve. Then, of course, it will also involve the organizational capability, or what you will typically see in other, if you check other format, it will say learning and growth. You will see that. Then under the components, you will definitely see the objective as a column. So the objective is one of the columns or one of the components you will see. From the objective, you now break it down into the KPIs. Then from KPIs, you now break them down into targets. Some people just have objectives and KPIs and they don't bother about the target. Then of course, you now see the initiatives. And that's where I will close. There's no way you are going to have tangible results for your strategic direction or your strategic plan without having initiatives that you want to use to drive it. So for instance, one of our strategic direction is to improve our community, or even to improve our customer satisfaction and make our customers happy by some certain level of parameter. So one of the strategic initiatives you want to have is to do what we call customer forums every year. You want to start doing what we call customer forums maybe twice a year or once a year. Then you want to also initiate frequent customer visits, maybe monthly or something, but you must always have strategic initiatives. So you have a strategic plan broken down to your objectives and KPIs, and then you must have initiatives on how you are driving that. And that initiative is what the standard actually says. What are you measuring? How do you want to achieve this? You want to achieve 90% of customer satisfaction. How? What do you want to do? What are the things that you must do to drive that overall initiative and overall objective? So you now say, okay, we want to make sure that we do trainings for the customers. We want to ensure that we do that depending on the objectives that you have set for yourself. All right, I think that at this point, I will need to stop. So basically, this is how you want to integrate your performance evaluation with your quality policy and quality objective. But then again, remember, it always starts with a foundation, which is the organizational corporate outlook regarding quality. If that foundation is missing, trust me, all of this will just be us winking in the dark. And of course, when we wink in the dark, we are not able to, achieve, or monitor ourselves. All right, so I think I will stop here. Thank you so much for your time and thank you for listening to me. And we'll just take one or two questions and I think we can call it a day. Thank you, everyone. Can anyone hear me? It's so quiet.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ma. The feedback is coming up. Please let's appreciate our wonderful
Thank you so
speaker.
much.
Yeah,
God bless you.
I remember, please let's just put it in the comment section. Yeah, I remember when a few minutes before the class started, Madam Monica chatted me up and she told me, Waliu, presentation will be 30 minutes, discussion 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I was like, is it not you? I know you very well. I never, I'm waiting for you to start because I know that by the time you start, the zeal, the drive that you have to want people to understand this, everything that you have will make you to continue and you will continue till, yes, you have tried that, yes, I've delivered value. So I know you will never disappoint. So when you said 30 minutes, I said, it's not Madam Monica. I remember setting the pace. We said 40 minutes. Well, everybody was just quiet and listening and everybody was grabbing. Even it went close to like 2 hours, but we were like, Madam Monica should not stop. So we know you for this and we know that you always deliver exceptionally. Thank you so much, Ma, for your time. Thank you for deciding, because it is your knowledge and it's your time. You might decide that, okay, you are busy, and we will rightly understand because we understand your busy schedule. But you are taking within your own means, within your own benevolence to actually let us give us the opportunity to learn from you to this evening. Thank you so much once again for accepting our
Thank you, Wale,
invite.
for having me. Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
QMS.
QMSAI, Quality and
Thank you
Management
for having
System
me.
Auditor
Thank you so
Institute.
much. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
I know very soon you get used to it. QMSAI, Quality and
Once
Management System
I
Auditor.
call Cletus, I call Wale, I'm fine.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I saw Mrs. Dominga, pioneer of Lagos City Commission. I think she joined us while you were in class. I don't know if she's still with us here, if she has one or two things to tell us.
Yes, I
she's still
am.
here.
I am very much so, especially when my sister, Monica, is on fire. Whoa, well done. I actually put some points there that very pointedly. Well done, my sister. That was so deep and deep.
Thank you,
Thank you so much. Thank you for expanding and preceptly breaking, the bits that are necessary. What I would like to add just a little is that I believe that with all that has been taught today, it will help a lot of implementers. However, I don't know how you can also look further to address issues around gaps between how auditors would be able to really engage leadership, top leadership, those kind of soft skills, because really, and at the same time, stay focused. Because sometimes you want to have a balance. If you are applying soft skills to be able to calm your people that you're speaking to down so that you can actually have them on your side, you can really get your information. You also don't want them to take that for granted and, not give you the formal attention that is required. So those soft skills, would be useful for auditors and lead auditors. Thank you so much. So I'm sure, Wali, you might want to look into that another time.
Mm.
You know,
Definitely.
for
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you, ma.
Madam
That
to be
was, yeah,
back.
that was a
You
very
need to be
insightful
back.
one.
Let me even shock you.
Yinka,
We're already thinking that
Yinka.
you are the next person that's coming online for the next for the next
That
webinar.
would be, it is Mrs. Nwosu that will still come back. It is Mrs. Nwosu. Yeah, so this one is class 1, class 2.
So by the grace
Wonderful.
of God, we'll write it down and ensure we look at who can take that. If we see that you are available to take it, we will be happy to have you help us with that.
Please,
Thank you very much.
Mr. Temitope Amowo. Sorry, Mr. Temitope
Yes, sir.
Amowo, please kindly mute yourself. You're muted. Please kindly mute yourself. All right.
Okay.
So sorry about that.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Anybody asking a question?
Yeah, we have a couple of questions. One of them says that what's different? Which one would you advise someone to go for? Lead implementer training or lead auditor training to get in-depth knowledge of all this? So, Miss Monica.
Or for me, I think that the lead implementer would tell you a step-by-step implementation requirement for the ISO implementation. And yeah, lead auditor as well, really. But then again, the lead auditor will just focus majorly on the auditor's requirements. But when it comes to implementation, in-depth knowledge of the implementation of each of the requirements, I think that the lead implementer would probably do justice to you grabbing the steps involved and the requirements, and then of course trying to interpret the standard. Yes.
Thank you very much. So my advice is the same thing. Go for implementer first, then before you go for
auditor.
auditing.
In fact, I will also advise that you even start with the internal auditor first.
Yes, before going to lead.
Exactly, before going for the lead. And that your knowledge about the lead implementer and then your knowledge as an internal auditor will equip you further to better position you to sit for the lead auditor program. Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right. So the next question we have here, yeah, when do you participate? When do you anticipate the KMS policy to undergo review? Many companies have retained these policies for an extended duration without substantial review. What is your perspective on this subject matter?
Beautiful question, very beautiful, and you are very correct. Like I said, I had a typical case. 2017, I mean, 5 years running, the same policy statements endorsed by the top management, and there was a complete disconnect. How can you have a policy statement that is 5-year-old? I mean, you will agree with me that the business environment is very dynamic and a lot of changes would have occurred within the system. Even if there are no changes in your system, the COVID that happened is even enough reason for you to want to look into it. But then again, there's also something that most people do not understand. Reviewing a document does not necessarily mean that you must change that document. Reviewing a document does not necessarily mean that that document must, there must be an input or something. But if you have an input, fantastic, right? The standard says that you're reviewing this document for suitability and adequacy. So the question you're asking yourself is it still suitable to our need? Is it still adequate to our processes, our risk, our product and services? So it is, and the standard actually gives you the liberty, which is one of the very beautiful things about ISO standard. It won't tell you, to just tell you on periodic basis. It won't tell you when you're to implement, but you need to define your document control policy. So your document control policy, you need to define that. And I remember we said that the quality policy is an apex document. So if other documents are undergoing review, definitely that document cannot be an isolated case. So you can say once annually, you can say twice annually, depending on your own peculiar situation. But I always advise that it should not be too extended. You can't say because ISO gives me the liberty, to define timeline, then I will say I will visit my customer only once in a year. It's not suitable and it's not adequate to your process. So you need to define adequacy and suitability based on your own context. I will always advise at least once a year or max twice a year. But then again, you need to review your own peculiarity. And reviewing it does not necessarily mean that you must add or change, but you need to reverse the status. You need to reverse your issue number. You need to reverse your division, your revision status. You need to reverse the date as long as it has been reviewed. It won't still be the same, the same date, even though the content would still remain the same if you didn't make any input. But then again, you can then say it has been changed. It has been, you cannot say that it has been reviewed. Right. I hope that is clear.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, ma'am. Mr. Emmanuel Fatoko said, please, I have a question. How do you manage a situation where the top management does not yield support to achieve the agreed objectives set at the management review at the beginning of the year, e.g. 100% PPE provision for the entire workforce? We have achieved, let's say, 50 to 60% success.
Okay, so I see this issue regularly, especially as a consultant. And the truth is, one of the reasons why we do risk assessment is because resources are limited. You will agree with me that resources are limited. And most organizations would not want to procure, and that is the reality on ground. So you are saying procure 100% PPE for all the workforce. And the next question is, how realistic is this, or how implementable is this? So then again, you go back to your risk assessment documents. You want to go back to your risk assessment documents and then look at those ones that you have rated based on your risk assessment matrix. There are some operations that you know that look, statutory regulatory requirements, we cannot carry out this operation without having this number of, or this required protective clothing. You back it up with statutory regulatory requirements in your industry. And then you also back it up with the level of risk assessment you've done, or will I say the rating? Yes, that's the word. The rating of the risk assessment you have done, to say that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 processes, they are critical processes that have high risk. They cannot be done without this level of what. So we need minimum of 80%, we need minimum of 60%, we need minimum of whatever percent for this level and all of that. These other people that are carrying out this operation, if they still need the PPE based on the fact that they are operating, then we'll now want to start beginning to look at the hierarchy of control. Can we eliminate this process? Can we introduce another, can we introduce an engineering control? Do we want to substitute this process? Because you also want to know that PPE is the least, your least level of even control. So when you say PPE, sometimes there are so many things you can do to even protect worker beyond just PPE. I hope you know that PPE does not protect. If you're wearing hard hat and you fall from it, it's not guaranteed. That hat will even fall down before you land on the floor. So you want to look at your risk assessment, then talk from the point of your risk assessment, talk from the point of your statutory regulatory requirement, talk from the point of customer requirement. And if you're talking from this point and it is 100% that all of the PPE must be procured, well, your management want to remain in business, then they need to procure it. Otherwise, they face the chance of litigation and everything. However, practically speaking, we need to also be realistic in demanding 100% PPE for all the workforce, including finance people, including HR people, but when you say all the workforce, you need to also define it. Are you looking at only the operations and all of that, so that you can make your demand more realistic and backing it up with enough data or enough requirements from applicable statutory regulatory authorities, so that that, look, I've already told you this is a requirement. So if push comes to shove, I have already stated it clearly that we are not complying. And so in case we fail this, or we fail this, you know that, yes, you laid it clearly based on the result of your risk assessment, and of course, backing it up with your statutory requirements. Yes, somebody was saying that on the balance scorecard slide, is it okay to further break down? Yes, your target. Yes, absolutely. That's maybe your frequency into Q1, Q2, Q3. We have a couple of clients that do that. So they do monthly monitoring at the end of Q1. They collate all their parameters together. And they also do what we call trend analysis. And that is one of the beautiful things that that's one of the benefits that you derive when you do your quarterly tracking. So you're able to compare results of Q1 with Q2 and then see the areas of gap. Are we going up? Are we coming down? Then also it also helps you to know how realistic and your objectives are. We have had clients that later came back to say, you know what, this objective was set. It's not realistic. Let's go back to the drawing board to see how we can realign it. Because from the results we've seen for Q1, Q2, and Q3, it's not aligning. And we can't continue like this. Otherwise, we're just going to just be documenting things that we are not able to, track or achieve. Yes. So yes, Ekanem, yes, it is good to break it down further and, just own your balance scorecard. It's your own it and tweak it whichever way you would like to tweak it.
Mr. Charles, the last person, Mr. Charles Obi, please, your hand is raised. You want to ask a question? Please make it quick and snappy.
Good evening. Yeah, good evening. Thank you so much for the insightful presentation. Okay, my question is this. For some businesses that have multiple locations and the design and infrastructural activities are changing, then we have a corporate policy, a corporate management systems. Can we say in each location should have their own separate policy that links to the corporate policy? I don't know. I'm just trying to struggle on this angle, whereby some activities are totally a little bit deviating from what other designs of the facility, other facilities have. Can we have a specific locational policy?
Okay, so I hear what you're saying. What you're saying is you're talking about, and I will start from the word scope. Now, in implementation or even in getting organizations certified, there is what is called scope definition. You need to define the scope. Now, if the operations of this location is not in totality the same thing with the operation of this location, you might need to define the objectives or the policies that are suitable for that particular location, except if you do the same thing across the board. But if you don't do the same thing across the board, even the external auditors will ask you to define the scope, and they also want to know the number of locations that will be covered within the scope and the number of activities or processes that are carried out per location. So sometimes you will see that some organizations will say that they are ISO certified, but you see that they have implemented the ISO only for their head office. They will say the scope covers the head office because they don't want to include other locations just yet, maybe because the structures or whatever it is that they are operating within those locations are not yet in alignment 100%. So in defining whether the policy statement will be the same thing or will not be the same thing, one of the first things you want to define according to ISO standard is to first define the scope of the management system. What are the processes? What are the services? What are the kind of peculiarities within those locations? That would help you to know whether it will be the same thing, because majority of the time actually it's the same thing. But I have also seen situations from some of the implementations we've conducted where the scope is not the same, even though they are the same organization. So for instance, they will tell you that we manufacture 5 products. 3, 4, 5 of these products, which is part of the group, is done within this location, while these other products or services are delivered within this other location. Despite the fact that we are within the same group or we are bearing the same brand name, does not necessarily mean our scope are the same thing. So if we define the scope of the management system, it will actually help us to know what we are refining. And the scope actually is talking about the strategic direction and your product and service delivery. And the standard actually stated that when you are defining your scope, you need to actually go back to your 4.1, internal and external issues, and 4.2 and all of that in order for you to know your product and services. And of course, it also talk about your risk in order for you to define your scope. So your scope, if it is the same thing, then the policy statement can be the same thing. But if your scope is highly differentiated, it will be advisable to let each location own their process so that they can be speaking to their policies will be speaking actually to their peculiar situation. Do you see that?
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks, I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that is all. On this note, I'll call on Mr. Cletus to give us a final talk.
Yeah, before we round up, I just want to add a little from my experience of certification audit and some internal audit. One of two areas I will want all of us to go and work on. For that, this I'm sure these external auditors here can bear me witness that these are the two things we find the most when we are auditing, where your objective is not smart. Most times, the one I saw last, the person just wrote their daily activities as objectives. Those things they do as their daily activities, he just coined them into objectives. Then, okay, let me just say a little to that. When you are setting your objectives, ensure that what she has taught today, you go and implement it in setting your objective. Your objectives have to be smart. Your objectives be adding value to the organization. So most times we discover that we set objectives without proper understanding of what is required of us. We just write anything we like. So please, let's go back, review our objectives, ensure your objective is adding value. Don't just write what you did last year. Don't just write because you want to write. Objectives should be written such that it is going to add value to the organization. From previous view, you should be able to see where there are areas of challenge. For one of time, I will quickly.
Hello, Mr. Cletus. I think we lost Mr. I think the network of Mr. Cletus is fluctuating. Please confirm that you can hear me now. Hello, Mr. Cletus, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I was logged out, maybe by internet. Just
please, let's make it snappy. We have only a few minutes left, please.
Quickly, the second thing I wanted to add is the fact that many times we discover that a lot of us set objectives, and these objectives do not have actions to achieve the objectives. So when you set objectives, you can't achieve them if there is nothing to be done to achieve the objectives. So when you set your objectives, please, like she said, put in place initiatives of what you will do to achieve the objectives. By so doing, your objectives will be adding value. On behalf of Quality and Management System Auditors Institute, I want to thank my sister, Monica Nwosu, for this beautiful presentation. On behalf of the members and the directors and leadership of the Institute, we want to say thank you very much. Thank you. God bless you. So we will be expecting the slide, which we will post in the next few days. God bless you. Waliu, thank you very much. Thank you to everyone. Madam,
thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
much.
Right. God bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Cletus. Like Mr. Cletus has rightly said, in a couple of days, the slides will be ready. And this section, like you have always said, is beyond just enlightenment. It's an opportunity to connect and to relate and to create a powerful community of professionals across the globe. We have what it takes, we have all that it takes, and we have the competency required to have an institute that addresses issues of quality and management system, including auditing and outside the framework of auditing, like I mentioned at the beginning of the class. So having a community like this, a worldwide recognized And by God's grace, more recognized community like this will actually put us in the forefront of having the opportunity to build our own. I don't like calling it local content, because when you use the word local content, people have different misinterpretation. When you go to other countries, whatever they have that we now emulate in our own country too is their own local content. So every country have what they call their own local content, and everybody in each country should be responsible to ensure the worldwide acceptability of whatever they deem it fit to improve in their organization as a whole, not only organization, even as a country as a whole. So what we are saying here is the simple fact that there's a collective responsibility for us to push this forward and to continue to improve in our competency level when it comes to management system. And QMSAI has developed an organizer platform for us to use as a focal point. This is everyone's single responsibility. As you can see, we have invited speakers, and we also invited Mrs. Monica Omosu, who has also joined in this journey. And we believe that everyone will also, in one way or the other, demonstrate their commitment to ensuring that we also have this at the back of our mind. That being said, thank you everyone for making it up to us today. We continuously want to add value, and hopefully in a couple of weeks again, we'll be having an erudite scholar to also enlighten us and engage us on subject matters that relates to our competency level. Thank you everyone for joining. I can see Mrs. Olayinka Alabi, as she has been here with us. Mrs. Dominga, our mother, is also still here with us. Abanom joined us from the beginning. Thank you for staying to this moment. Ms. Fatima, Mr. Toyese Opatola, and so many of us. We can't keep mentioning names. Everyone has been here. Mr. Jude, Mr. Charles, Mr. Moti Mitogwetu has been here this morning. Mr. Yekini, everyone, Mr. Oboru Umana. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We appreciate you, and we hope to see you once again. Membership into the Quality Management System Monitor Institute is still on for everyone who wants to be a member. And the membership gives us the opportunity to build a worldwide recognized professional body and certification body for ISO, and also quality management as a whole. Thank you so much. If you want to be interested in becoming a member, you can reach out to us directly. You can reach out to me, or reach out to Mr. Cletus, or reach out to us on our website, www.qmsai.org. You would get information on how to become a member. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for coming. And by God's grace, next week, in a couple of weeks, we'll be having another wonderful enlightenment section. Remember, together we can only get better. If we don't build our own, we don't build ourselves. No one, and I mean no one, will ever do it for us. Thank you, and God bless you. And like I said the other time, we have what it takes. We have all it takes. Yes, nobody's saying that we should not collaborate. Yes, there's room for collaboration with international bodies, foreign organizations. But when we collaborate, but we don't have a substance to which we want to use to collaborate, then definitely what we are doing is just subjecting ourselves to external validation. We have what it takes internally, and we believe that we can build our own, and we can make it worldwide recognized. And without you, this will not be possible, because together we can only make it better, and we can only get better. See you once again in a couple of weeks, where we'll be educating ourselves on other subject matters. Thank you so much. We can all unmute now and thank our wonderful speaker, Ms. Monica Onwosu. Let us unmute and thank her for a wonderful presentation. Let us unmute. It's time for us to unmute and thank her for a wonderful presentation. Thank you,
Madam Monica.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam Monica of Kingdom. Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for what you have done so far. Thank you for your contribution and your word of experience.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. God bless you.
for
Thank you so
wonderful
much,
contribution.
everyone. Thank you for your time
Thank you
too.
very much. God bless you.
Thank you for showing up. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are counting from 10 to 1, and we are closing for today. Mr. Cletus, you will be the one to close it because you are the admin. So once I reach 1, you close it out for today. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you all again.